Hi guys, it's Mr. B here and welcome to today's Dynamic Tactics tutorial. I'd just like to say before we start that this is from the demo and it's also not going to be related to any specific formations and that kind of stuff. It's just going to be a general overlook at the new system. So yeah guys, if you do enjoy today's video, please leave a like, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. So we'll start off by, we can now choose by pressing the LT or L2 button on your controller. You can now set, you've got your original balance formation. You can have four other formations: ultra defensive, defensive, attacking, and ultra attacking. Those names mean absolutely nothing, guys. They're basically just hotkeys. So you could have your most attacking formation as your ultra defensive formation, or your most defensive as your ultra attacking, and it'll make no difference to the formation at all. You can basically have your balance formation as your most defensive and then have these four all more attacking. Yeah, so I just thought I'd get that out of the way first. They're just hotkeys. But yeah, so, and you can switch it in game by basically just using the arrows on your controller. So we'll get into the defense, and we've got five settings. We've got balanced, pressure on heavy touch, possession after possession loss, constant pressure, and drop back. So what I advise to do at the start of the game is basically always start on balanced, just to see what you like. Like, do you feel like your team's too far back? Do you feel like you need to press more? Because everyone's got a different way of playing FIFA. And then once you've decided, you know, my team's not doing this, my team is doing that, you can adjust these accordingly. So we'll just go through them now. We obviously know what drop back is. It just means that you'll sit a lot deeper. Obviously, you know, you won't probably get through board, but you'll be vulnerable to the long shot. Balance is just normal settings. You know, you'll be in between a bit of everything. Pressure on heavy touch, self-explanatory again, just means if your opponent, you know, has a loose touch on the ball, your players will all press up and try and win that ball back for you. Pressure after possession loss, you know, is just once you lose the ball, your team will really press the opposition to try and win the ball back really quickly. It's the tactic that Pep Guardiola tries to play with Man City. And constant pressure means no matter what the situation in the game, your team's going to just be trying to surround the opponent and winning the ball back. There's obviously pros and cons to all of these. Constant pressure, I find your team gets worn out really quickly. If you're on drop back, you know, you really invite pressure on, so you know it's going to be harder to create chances going forward. I recommend the middle three, if I'm honest, for your starting formation. I personally like pressure on heavy touch because I like to pounce on the opponent's mistakes and punish him for it. Yeah, so they're the different defensive styles that you can use. The width, as you can see where I'm bringing it down, the smaller you make it, the more narrow your team sits, and the wider you make it, the wider your team sits. Yeah, guys, I mean, this will change depending on what formation you're playing, and also, you know, what your opponent's doing. I recommend having at least one of your formations that you set up that's really wide, and one of your formations that you set up that's really narrow. So, and then you can have a few that's in the middle with formations that you like to play. So you've got that variety to be able to switch depending on your opponent. The depth, this is how deep your team sits, or how high your team sits, as you can see there. And obviously if you're on 5, there's going to be dead in the middle. So what I recommend for this is that you want to have one formation where you're on, you know, 9 or 10 for if you're losing the game and you need to press a long way up the pitch to try and get that goal. And you're probably, you know, going to want one formation where you're sitting a bit deeper, you're trying to hang on to that lead against a good player at the end of the game, and then the other three formations you can just have, you know, what you like to play on when you're playing your normal game. Now we'll move on to the offense, And we've got balanced, which is obviously self-explanatory, guys. It's just a bit of everything. Long ball, which is an interesting one. I don't actually expect this to be that popular at the start of the game, but if you read what it is, players will make runs in behind the opposing back line. And strikers who are fast with good attacking position, are going to be best for this tactic. And, I've found so far on the demo, at least anyway, that the lob through ball is really effective. So if you do use this and you've got players who are trying to get in behind, that lob through ball, especially with the timed finishing this year, may be effective. We'll just have to wait and see. Fast build up. Once you win the ball, your players are going to try and rush forward. A bit, I guess, counter-attackish. But you've got to be careful, because if you do win the ball, then you lose it whilst going forward. You could be exposed because your players will all be pushed up the pitch. And possession, your players are always going to show for the ball and make themselves available for an easy pass. And we've got the width now. As you can see, the attack, this is for the offence, so same as the defence. Yes, if you lower it, your team gets narrower. If you put it higher, your team gets wider. Players in the box, this is to do with crosses and that kind of stuff. You lower it, less players get in the box. You put it higher, all your players get in the box. I don't recommend having it on anything higher than probably 7, unless you're chasing the game, because you always want to have someone that's hanging back to pick up those loose balls, because you just don't want to get counter-attacked. And but obviously you want to have one formation where you've got it on 9 or 10 for late in the game if you are losing and you need that goal. Corners. This is a great addition to the game, guys. This corners and free kicks, because it was so frustrating in FIFA, in all the previous FIFAs, where you'd be winning a game late on and you'd get a corner and all your players would go into the box, and unless you played the corner short, you could have easily got done on the counter. So now to have this option of how many players you want in the box is very, very handy, because these can kind of link up. Like if you're got a formation where you're playing more defensive, you can lower players in the box, you can lower corners, lower free kicks, and that will keep all your players back. So you won't get counter attacked. You'll be set up well for when you lose the ball. Or you can go the other way, and you're chasing the game. You put them all higher, and you're getting all your players in the box for, in general play, corners and free kicks. So it's going to be very, very interesting this year, and I think people are going to be changing between their tactics a lot. And basically, guys, that's the roundup of the new tactics. I actually think this is going to be a lot better than FIFA 18 tactics-wise. I think the more tactically minded players are going to do a lot better, because I used to see how I could beat an opponent in FIFA 18, but I was either too lazy to, pause the game every time and change, or I'd change and then the opponent would see what I've changed to and then counter that, so it was really annoying. And in this FIFA, you'll be able to change on the fly between 5 formations, and they won't even know what you're doing until it's already happened. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this and want to see more, when the actual game drops, I'm going to have specific setups for what I think are going to work really well once I've worked out the game mechanics and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's going to be more Pacific guides on the way, but for now I just thought I'd show you the dynamic tactics so far. I'm really happy with it, and I think it's a good addition to the game, and I look forward to using it, especially in the weekend league and foot rivals. So yeah, guys, if you got any questions about it, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.